Shalom Aleichem, Rabotai. Peace unto you, everyone. I'm Rabbi Kaba, bringing you more wisdom from the ancient Jewish Talmud you can use in your modern life. We are on the eighth daf, the eighth page of Ketuvot, about marriage contracts, talking about the 7 blessings that we make at the marriage ceremony and during the 7 days of feasting and celebration after the marriage. The Gemara goes through these blessings, and one of them is that we bless the bride and groom that they should be joyous and happy like Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Sounds great, sounds amazing, but if we recall, Adam and Eve were in that Garden of Eden for a few hours, not even a day, and then everything went south, and there was a snake and a forbidden fruit, and she blames him and he blames her, and was that really the model, the example of harmony and peace and joy, really? So the Baal Shem Tov explains an amazing concept. One of the Hasidic masters hundreds of years ago, the Baal Shem Tov, explains that Adam and Eve knew they were the only spouse for one another. Now, on a literal level, there was no one else there. That's great. And as we're going to see in this Gemara, today's Gemara later, we talk about how Adam and Eve were created from one body, from one unit. They knew they were perfect for each other. So despite the strife, despite the blaming, despite the real hurt and the real agony of the original sin, Adam and Eve still knew they were the appropriate husband and wife for one another. And this is so important when strife comes up in marriage. And it does come up. It will come up. It's inevitable that if you look at your spouse as the only one for you, as the right person for you, then it gives you the ability and the power to work through whatever's going wrong and come out with a positive outcome on the other side. It's an amazing power to use in marriage, this blessing of being like Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. You can also say, all jokes aside, you can also say there were no in-laws in the Garden of Eden. They were the first generation of humanity. There were no in-laws, no mothers-in-law, no fathers-in-law, nothing to... Anyway, another thing the Gemara mentions today is, again, Adam and Eve were created from one body, but there's a discussion there. There's a discussion if God had originally intended to create 2 separate bodies or one body. Now understand, God doesn't change his mind. The mind of God is eternal and unchanging. There's no physicality to it. There's no fickleness to it. This is to teach us a lesson that marriage is possible when there are 2 separate parts that become one whole. So only when a man knows himself, he knows his own strengths and weaknesses, he has his own independent identity, he has a personality before he gets married, then he can find success in a marriage. If he's just half of a partnership, if he's walking through life thinking, I'm looking for my other half, he's not becoming something himself. He's not becoming a whole entity unto himself. He's just, I'm looking for my other half. Where is she? Where's my soulmate? He's not going to succeed. Even if he does find his quote-unquote soulmate, he's not going to succeed. He has to make himself a whole being first. Now, you should know there's a Gemara in Moed Katan, Daf 18, that really undermines the notion of soulmates. They might not exist, and if they do, it might be possible. The Gemara there brings a story of a man who prayed to get somebody else's soulmate, and then he got her. He got someone else's soulmate, and he was miserable and suicidal because of it. So it's not so simple that conventional Judaism endorses soulmates, but once you've developed yourself to the point of being ready for marriage, you have your own independent identity, then you come together with your spouse and you are one body. You are one unit. You're no longer separate. Now you're using your separate skills to complement one another. Whatever he brings to the table, whatever she brings to the table, you work together as a complement, not as a competition, though sometimes there will be struggles, but you complement one another. You both use your strengths and you both support each other in your weaknesses, and you become one unit. And when you look at it that way, you can get through a lot of struggles and come out with a positive outcome in a marriage. Have a great day. Please remember to like and subscribe and be well. God bless.